I mentioned in a previous segment earlier that Donald Trump is he's got a new idea in his head that he wants to get rid of mail-in voting, and add that to all of the gerrymandering that's going on in the red states, Texas, Florida, Ohio, Indiana, what have you. He is doing everything he can to hedge his bets so he will never lose power. And the next upcoming election in 2026 is not looking really good for him, with all of the screw ups that he's doing with tariffs and the big beautiful bill, and all of the foreign wars that he's saying that he's stopping, but he's not stopping the big ones that are actually happening right in front of our face. It's not looking good for him. So he wants to he wants to gerrymander the entirety of the country in his favor. And now he wants to get rid of mail-in voting, which, he's still going on this, he's still on the, I won the election in 2020 and it's all because of the mail-in voting. I mean, never mind the fact that we were dealing with a national pandemic, and it probably wouldn't have been a good idea for us to be standing in line, hacking and coughing on each other. And that was the reason why. Election rules through the Constitution are set by the states, and Donald Trump wants to he's doing everything he can. He wants to federalize this whole damn thing so he can have complete control over it. He's already floated the ideas that we need to get rid of voting machines. Anyway, he just went on his little vacation to Alaska to hang out with his best buddy, Putin. And Putin whispered in his ear that you should have won the election. If it hadn't been for the mail-in voting, you would have won. Yet again, I cannot do a Russian accent, but I do what I can. Anyway, we've got Donald Trump over here. What? I don't want to skip that one. I'll let you in on a little my dirty secret here coming up. But here he is after the meeting with Putin. He comes back to his favorite hug box, Fox News, and he's hanging out with his boy, Sean Hannity, who's interviewing him, giving him, a puddin' soft interview. And this is what he has to say about his conversation with Putin.
Vladimir Putin said something, one of the most interesting things. He said, your election was rigged because you have mail-in voting. He said,
"Oh, you're talking my language now, Pooty Poots. I fucking love this guy. He says all of the sweet nothings in my ear, and I love it."
Mail-in voting, every election. He said, no country has mail-in voting. It's impossible to have mail-in voting and have honest elections. And he said that to me. It was very interesting because we talked about 2020. He said, you won that election by so much.
He's literally saying that because he knows that's exactly what you want to hear. He played you like a fucking fiddle. He's evil, man, but he's also incredibly stupid. Now, this is the little thing that I kind of let the cat out of the bag here, but this is back in 2020. Putin signs law allowing voting by mail and the internet. Oh, God. No other country does mail-in voting. No, we need to get rid of that. America's the only one that does that, and that's why Donald Trump lost. Moving on to PBS here. Fact-checking Donald Trump's claim the U.S. is the only country that uses mail-in voting. Let's see here. Dozens of countries allow at least some mail-in voting. The International Institute for Democracy, that's something that Donald Trump doesn't like. Democracy is a four-letter word to Donald Trump. Found that of the 34 countries or territories, 12 allow all voters to vote by mail and 22 permit only some voters to vote this way. Like if you're, if you are a military who is abroad, you can mail in. Donald fucking Trump votes by mail. He spends a lot of his time in New York. He spends a lot of his time in Washington and in Mar-a-Lago, but he mails in votes in Florida. He votes by fucking mail, but he wants to get rid of it for some reason. I don't know what it is. Europe has the largest number of countries that make it in-country postal voting available to all or some voters. By the way, Democrats have been saying this for years. Either make Election Day a national holiday or have it on the weekend, because people that work during the day have a much harder time to vote on a Tuesday. But I believe that's by design. Paul Weyrich said back in 1971 that the less people vote, the better chance for Republicans. The more people that come out to vote, the worse chance Republicans have. So Republicans are doing everything they can to make it difficult, whether it is blue cities and red states that have polling places taken away from them and they have to stand in line for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a pop, and they make it illegal for you to, for somebody to bring water to you while you're in line. You can get arrested for that. They do everything they can to make it difficult. And now Donald Trump is trying to take away mail-in votes, which, if you do it the right way, quote unquote, the right way, where you go and you register, you bring your ID and all that stuff, and they mail you the form and you fill it out and you send it in, Donald Trump wants to take that away from you too. And it's not just Democrats that vote by mail. Lots and lots of Republicans vote by mail in this country. But just to contradict the dumbass shit that Donald Trump just said, dozens and dozens of countries across the planet, mail-in vote. Let's see here. I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt. Honey, he wants them hand counted, which has proven to be much more inaccurate than using a goddamn machine, which are not connected to the internet. You feed it in there, and then the tallies are stored in the computer. They pull out the little voting card, and then they put it in the computer, and then they send it off to the national election or the state election, and then those votes are tallied, and then they're sent all the way up the chain. It is done the most safe way possible. But Donald Trump does not like the outcomes because oftentimes he loses. And he lost in 2020, and he's still fucking sore about it. And then Putin comes and whispers in his ear, the only reason why you lost is because of mail-in voting. And now Donald Trump is like, I like what that guy had to say. Maybe I should get rid of the mail-in voting. And while we're at it, let's get rid of those damn voting machines. And interestingly enough, let's see here. On that very same day that he's saying that, Newsmax has to pay $67 million to settle a defamation case linked to the 2020 election. Newsmax will pay $67 million to settle one of the last outstanding defamation lawsuits against the news organization for airing false claims that the 2020 election was rigged. Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems, the same voting technology company that had received $787 million, $750 million, Fox News had to pay over their bullshit lies in their election coverage, brought the lawsuit against Newsmax. A trial was scheduled to begin in October. In the lawsuit filed on the months after 2020, Dominion accused the cable news network of spreading false claims that the company's voting technology had been manipulated to help Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. I've had conversations with Republicans about this, and they're like, how come so many more people voted in the 2020 election? Because it was easier. Instead of going out there and standing in line for hours at a time, people had ballots mailed to them, they filled them out, and they sent them in. That's why more people voted. That's why it was easier to vote. If you make voting much easier for people, people will be more ready to vote. But like I said, Republicans, all the way back to Paul Weyrich back in the early 70s, they don't want voting to be easy. They want it to be hard. Donald Trump is talking about bringing back voter ID. Yet again, another barrier to make it more difficult for you to vote, you as a Democrat. If you're a Republican, you got no problems. Especially if you're a Republican living in a rural area, you're in and out of the voting place in 20 minutes. But if you live in a blue city inside of a red state, they make it impossible for you to vote. That's why it's on a Tuesday. That's why it's not a holiday. They want it to be difficult. In the lawsuit filed in the months after the 2020 election, Dominion accused the cable news network of spreading false claims that the company's voting technology had been manipulated to help Joe Biden beat Donald Trump, like other right-wing news networks. Newsmax featured Trump allies who promoted these conspiracies, including former Trump campaign lawyer Sidney Powell, blast from the past. Remember Sidney Powell? I'm going to release the Kraken lady. And supporter Mike Lindell of MyPillow. Whatever happened to Mike Lindell, man? He is gone. Nobody's heard from him since. Maybe Dominion sued him into oblivion too. I don't think anybody's buying his lumpy pillows anyway. Newsmax announced the settlement in an August 15th filing with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. According to the document, network paid $27 million in the settlement on the day, and the rest will be paid by January 2027. I'm surprised they didn't put him out of business. Anyway, Donald Trump wants to make voting harder for you. He does not want it to be an easy process. He wants it to be difficult. He wants it to be hard for you, so you will just go, you know what? I don't think it's worth the trouble. I think I'm going to sit this one out. And he's counting on that. So, whether it's getting rid of mail-in voting, whether it's getting rid of the voting machines, whether it's voter ID, he is doing everything he can to make sure that he does not lose in 2026, which means that we are going to have to work extra hard to get out there and bring our vote to put his monkey ass out of power. And the first step is winning in 2026 and taking back the House and possibly taking back the Senate. If we can manage to do that, he will be a lame duck president for the next 2 years, and he can bitch and moan and complain all the livelong day, and he will be able to do damage internationally, but he will have much less power here in this country. But up until that point, we're going to have to deal with it because unfortunately Donald Trump still holds a lot of sway. He's got Congress in his back pocket and the judiciary in his back pocket. So we definitely absolutely need to win back one of those branches of government, and 2026 is the way to go. So anyway, just prepare yourself. He's trying to make it difficult. Get all your ducks in a row and make sure that you get out there in November of 2026 so we can put this motherfucker in check. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.